Transylvania, land of shadow and secrets. Have you heard of Transylvania? This mysterious place has fascinated people for a long time. It's a real place in Romania, full of natural beauty and history. Picture tall mountains, dark forests, and misty old villages. The land itself seems to tell secrets. This is Transylvania, a place full of history and mystery, where every corner has a story. For centuries, vampire stories have been told here, casting shadows over its castles. These tales are part of its identity. But are these stories just myths? Or is there some truth to them? Or could there be more to them? The mystery keeps people curious. Transylvania has always been a place of secrets, where the past and present mix together. Surrounded by mountains and dense forests, it's easy to see how myths could start here. The isolation adds to the mystery. The people of Transylvania have shared these stories for generations, each one adding more fear and intrigue. Their traditions and folklore show the region's rich culture. Where did vampire stories come from? Vampire stories didn't start in Transylvania. They have been told for a long time in many cultures around the world. Ancient places like Mesopotamia and China had their own vampire-like creatures. These stories were often connected to sickness and death, things people didn't understand. Before modern medicine, people didn't know what caused diseases. When someone died suddenly or looked strange after death, it scared people. They looked for reasons, and sometimes they thought it was supernatural beings like vampires. Vlad the Impaler, a cruel man but a vampire. Vlad the Impaler is a big name in Transylvania's vampire stories. Vlad III was a real person who ruled Wallachia, near Transylvania, in the 1400s. He was a tough warrior, known for his cruel way of killing people by impaling them. Vlad's cruelty made him famous even back then. Stories of his harshness spread across Europe, making him seem like a monster. There's no proof Vlad drank blood, but his scary reputation helped create the vampire legend. Bram Stoker's Dracula, a book that changed everything. In 1897, an Irish writer named Bram Stoker wrote a book called Dracula. He set the story in Transylvania, using the area's spooky history and vampire legends. Stoker based Dracula on Vlad the Impaler, a real person known for being very cruel. The book was a big hit, thrilling readers with its scary and exciting story. Stoker's Dracula gave us the modern idea of a vampire, a charming but dangerous noble who drinks blood and sleeps in a coffin. Stoker's book changed how we think about vampires and influenced many other stories. Dracula has always been popular and has been made into many movies and plays, each adding something new to the story. The look of Dracula, with his pale skin, sharp teeth, and black cape, is now what we think of when we imagine a vampire. But Dracula's influence goes beyond movies and books. It has inspired many discussions among scholars and historians. The book also made popular the idea that vampires are afraid of garlic and sunlight and can be hurt by crucifixes, and holy water, adding a religious aspect to the vampire story. And the idea that vampires can turn others into vampires, spreading their curse like a disease. Garlic and sunlight, the weapons we use against the darkness. These two things have been part of stories and myths for a long time, seen as symbols of safety and goodness. It's interesting how even made-up stories can shape what we believe. Take garlic, for example. This simple plant is thought to have special powers. In many places, garlic is seen as a strong protector against evil, believed to keep away not just vampires, but also other bad spirits. There's no proof that garlic can hurt vampires, but people still believe it, partly because of stories like Dracula, which made this idea popular. The same is true for sunlight. This natural light has always been linked with purity and life. In Stoker's Dracula, sunlight made the vampire weak, a trait that has become a key part of vampire stories, showing how light wins over darkness. This weakness to sunlight makes vampires seem less invincible, reminding us that even dark creatures have their flaws. It shows how light and goodness can beat evil. Transylvania today. Do people still believe? Today, Transylvania is a popular place for tourists. They come to see the castles and learn about vampire stories. But what about the people who lived there? Do they still believe in vampires? It's a bit complicated. Most people in Transylvania think of vampire stories as old tales. But these stories are a big part of their culture and history. Some people still believe in the old ways, and some even say they have seen supernatural things. Why do vampire stories keep us interested? Maybe it's the excitement of the unknown, the idea that something is hiding in the dark. Or maybe it's the charm of the vampire story, the promise of living forever and having power. Whatever the reason, vampires still capture our imaginations. They show our deepest fears and wishes, reminding us that even in a world of science and logic, there are still things we can't explain. As we explore space and learn more about our planet, we should remember that there will always be things we don't know. The stories we tell, like the vampire legends of Transylvania, show our need to understand the world. So, the next time you hear a story about vampires, don't just think it's silly. Instead, think about what it tells us about our fears and our curiosity about the unknown. Because in the huge universe, anything can happen.